What if XRP's next move is not the move that people are expecting? In this video, I want to go over exactly what I mean by that, because I think there is a very real possibility, based on some new information, that XRP might be about to do something that almost no one is talking about. So I want to start off this video by going over what I think the mainstream thinking is in terms of what XRP is going to do next. And I really made this video because whenever I see a lot of people coming to the same consensus or the same thought process about what is going to happen in the market, it always makes me wary of whether or not that thing is actually going to happen. I probably don't have to explain, but the vast majority of the time, everyone gets it wrong. That's not to say that no one gets it right. Of course, sometimes a few people do. But if you look at where the mainstream thinking is, where the overall market consensus is, normally it doesn't happen exactly how the market predicts it. And that's just because markets are extremely unpredictable, and there are always infinite possibilities for how the market can move. That's why I personally think fundamentals and what's happening in the real world are so important over just charts. But let's take a look at some charts that might paint a slightly different story than what the fundamentals would suggest. The first thing I think we need to understand is that the vast majority of bottoms we've seen in the cryptocurrency industry have been sharp V-shaped bottoms. Typically, what we see is explosive volatility to the upside, maybe a short stall, maybe a small retracement, and normally the bottom is essentially bookmarked by one big capitulation crash. Now, I think it's impossible to ignore that the fundamentals for XRP are drastically improving, and the long-term capital inflows cannot be ignored. Those are the types of things that, in my opinion, are extremely predictable in the market. Where is the money going over the long run? Where is the innovation happening? Where are the real-world products? These are things that I believe are fairly easy to identify for long-term bets. Where is the general market thinking there's going to be the most innovation? Where is there going to be the most adoption? Where will there be real institutional use cases for a company or technology? Finding those trends over the long run, I don't think that's rocket science. I don't think you had to be a mega genius to realize that the iPhone was going to be a game changer for society. I don't think you had to be a mega genius to see that what Tesla was doing with self-driving and electric cars was going to be transformative. I don't think you had to be a genius to realize that e-commerce was going to be a huge innovation for society. These were easy bets to make over the long run. But the thing people got wrong, the thing most people really got incorrect the entire time, which is why no one held Amazon for that long, no one held Apple for that long, comes down to short-term thinking. When I say no one, I'm talking about the masses, not the select few who did get it right. Why did so many people end up not holding Apple or Amazon through these very long, profitable investment time horizons? A lot of it came down to short-term decisions. Many tried to time the market. I'll buy on a dip, or I'll sell at the top and get back in later. People overcomplicated it with short-term moves, and these moves, while I often say they should be ignored, drastically affect people's emotions regarding their investments. If everyone who knew Amazon was going to be a great success simply bought it early and held, there would probably be thousands more long-term Amazon shareholders today. But the truth is, most people got shaken out by short-term noise and fluctuations. They thought they could predict these things, but when things didn't go their way, they felt disheartened and assumed the entire investment was wrong from the start. The reality is, they were trying to predict things that can't really be predicted. Now, going back to XRP, and I think this backstory is important, pretty much everyone I see is projecting one more crash for XRP. Everyone's waiting for that volatile dip down, that last capitulation moment. That's what has marked almost every major bottom in crypto history, and everyone's just waiting for it to happen. But I'm starting to think there's a possibility that this bottom could look different from previous bottoms. A bottom that isn't marked by the typical big spike down and big spike up in volatility. At the end of the day, if there's one way to shake out a lot of retail and get people out of the market, it's to surprise them with an upside move. So many people are selling right now, rotating out, because they think, it's obviously going down a little more. I'll wait for that final dip, then re-enter. There are so many waiting for this last big spike, this last capitulation moment. My thesis is that we might not actually get it. Too many people are waiting for it, hoping to re-enter at the bottom. But in my opinion, XRP could surprise everyone and flip to the upside without that final piece of capitulation. If we look at what Crypto Insight posted, we see a textbook bullish Adam and Eve pattern. Do I think this pattern guarantees anything beyond looking similar to XRP's chart? Absolutely not. But if this trading pattern exists, it's likely because many equities or assets with charts have traded in this general formation before, and XRP seems to be following it. So, is it possible we continue along this formation and spike to the upside, leaving everyone waiting for a dip holding cash? I think it's absolutely possible. Here's another chart, more zoomed out, showing Wyckoff accumulation. Again, it suggests we could very well be at the bottom and reverse upward without a final spike and capitulation. The real reason I bring this up is that I see so many people trying to time that liquidation spike, assuming it's a foregone conclusion. But I think that assumption might be wrong. There's a real possibility the market has already bottomed. Many, including myself, have projected that XRP will see the same last flash crash and shakeout. But when so many people expect it, it creates the opportunity for the market to do something different, something surprising. It's very possible this bottom isn't marked by a final spike. Many get caught waiting for that bottom to reaccumulate, only to have it never happen. If there were a long-term effort to push people out, the best way would be to surprise them upward. Many think, it's a bear market. We'll know when we're at the bottom with a V-bottom spike. But people are starting to think they can predict markets far too accurately. We've already seen this lesson with Amazon, Apple, and Google. The same exact patterns were discussed. There will be one more spike, or it's forming a certain formation. And most of the time, it did nothing but distract from the long-term picture. If you were holding Amazon in 2002, it didn't matter if you bought at the top or bottom, you still would have won long-term. Too many people try to reposition, get fancy, and catch that one last dip, when in reality, there's no certainty it has to happen. Evidence exists for both scenarios, one more spike or none. So, when making long-term decisions about XRP, your best bet is not to focus on short-term market moves. The market is unpredictable, and trying to predict it precisely is a losing game. The only sure way to get it right is to sit on your hands and avoid actions that could compromise your position. I just wanted to put this video out there because when I hear so many people talking the same way, it's crucial not to blindly follow. Keep your mind open to the possibility that the V-bottom, the capitulation moment, might not happen. The market could surprise people, and in my opinion, it might already have bottomed. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this update. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice, as I am not a financial advisor. And you should always do your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any investment decisions.